And there we have it. Anyway, how are you doing?
Doing good. Just going through. I got another 5-color print I've got to get done for another contractor.
Well, that's
So
good.
it's going to be. It has to be a tight registration. It's coming off of using the Separation Studio. See how it is. I had to enhance the underbase because it was a little thin, and so I got the film printed finally. And then I actually did this morning. I kind of went on YouTube and did where they have a, I think it was, what is it? Solutions for screen printers.
Right.
Have
Solutions for screenprinters.com. Yeah.
Where they've got their example of how to clean the printer like we were discussing yesterday. So I actually went through cleaning my printer, got a little more hard print clean for the heads that I have on that. Seemed to work pretty well. I ended up using the head cleaner that I used for my Roland to just get it started. It did clean it up, but I'm gonna have to. We'll talk a little bit later and see what your recommendations are.
So here's the thing: you don't have any cleaning cartridges, correct?
Correct.
All right. Well, the blank cartridges that you bought.
Yes.
Buy another set. I'll get you cleaning fluid.
Okay.
And this way, periodically you pull out the ones that your all black system, put in the cleaning ones, and use those to do several power cleanings.
Sounds good. Let's we'll have to move forward on that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with my guy today and see if I can get him to get it out to you. And you'll have it next week. And obviously, if you order those blanks, those would be perfect for it.
That'll work great. No, I've got it cleaned up significantly on what we already did on what there was on it. We're still getting that weird
spatter.
But it's staying opaque as far as the front side that actually burns. So that whatever those odd lines are on there, the dust lines, whatever they're causing that, they're just on the back. It's staying opaque where it doesn't show through on the print.
Well, I think part of the problem with that little splatter that you're getting is when you do a halftone job, it's going to interfere with the halftones. On the big solid masses, really not that much of an issue. You can certainly get around it easily, but looking at your calibration bar, it was filling in pretty heavily, a lot earlier than it should have.
Correct.
And,
go ahead.
And you're not doing that much halftone work, but when you do, it's definitely going to have an impact on you, especially if you're trying to do something that's, from let's say a 10 to a 80% dot. Your 10s are going to look weird, not too bad, but but from looking at the calibration bar yesterday, at about 60%, you're going solid.
That, and I got actually one of them up right now. So actually my 60% now is starting to open up. So 70, you can see through it. And then right now, starting at 80 is where you're starting to really go solid on that.
Yeah, but you have to understand when you print, you're going to also have dot gain. And so the dot gain is going to probably obliterate some of more of the 70 as well, where you'd like to see a clean 70, clean 80. At about 90, there's no chance. But so you don't have that much more to improve, but you definitely should be opening up a little bit more than where you are. But it's definitely, if what you're telling me, you certainly are better than where it was
yesterday.
Yes. Correct. But I do believe that putting in a set of cleaning cartridges, which are no big deal, you pull out the old the ink ones, you put in the cleaners, you do a couple of power cleanings, you print off a couple of things with the black, and you're back in business.
All right.
As far as, and will that correct the splattering? I'm not sure. but it probably will keep the heads fresh anyway.
Sounds good.
So we're both early, and there is nobody else, and who knows if anyone is going to show up or not, which is no big deal one way or the other. Especially this time before Thanksgiving, I think everybody's trying to squeeze in. I got a text message or an email from a potential client. She's out in Kansas City, is supposed to call me, and said, can't call you, trying to find ink. My guys think that by scraping the bottom of a can, they're going to get more ink out of it. And so, you know, she's now, and of course, with the situation being what it is on getting ink, and especially because she's needing yellow, it's like, really, I couldn't get yellow for my workshop. So I'm sure she's having a fun time today.
She using Rutland, or what direction?
I don't know. I wrote her back saying, you know, what brand and series, but I guess she's been hammering away on the phone and not responding to that.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I mean, depending on what it is, I may be able to help. I don't know. But no response means I can't do anything. You know, it's one of those things. I mean, I've got some, what's her name? Reggie out in Nebraska. So I helped her get a massive amount of ink. So in a pinch, I could ask her to ship a gallon, but without knowing what it is she needs, doesn't do any good. You know, if she's doing a high opacity job, that's fine. I can get her something. If she's doing a transparent job, I can, or an all-purpose job, that's fine, without knowing. And if it's, and I think she's on a color matching system, so you can't go out of that system. Otherwise, your colors don't come together the right way.
Okay. What is Reggie using? She did you set her up Rutland, or are she using Union?
I set her up with Rutland. She used a lot of Union, actually, because she's doing predominantly big flat laydowns. I mean, you know, doing more vector art than anything else. But actually, she's gone over to a huge amount of silicone, just because she's doing a fair amount of performance fabrics and just likes the way the silicone handles it. And she is pretty bold on her pricing in a upward manner, not in a lower manner. You know, when I hear some of the things that she charges, it's like, wow, glad I don't have to buy my shirts from you.
But you know, she, in her market where she's at, you know, a lot of the things she's printing up into Lusk. She's into Lusk, Wyoming. She has customers in Cheyenne. She has customers. She's got a big swath area that she covers, and that was the nice thing about actually stepping into her shop and taking a look.
But she's also, because she's also in a small town, and Ogallala pretty much is, it relies on Lake McConaughey. So during the summer, she gets a walk-in traffic, so she puts her own line out front. And so, of course, people go into the lake, just like here when they go skiing, price isn't a factor. You know, if it's something they like, they're going to buy it. But because she's in a small town, she gets a lot of the local business, and they don't go looking outside of town. They are going to be very
support local.
Yeah, they are very supportive of local situations. So that puts her in a really positive side. So that's kind of cool. But I mean, she's built her business up in a crazy way. If she can get the goddamn automatic that I got for her moving, it would probably make a lot of sense.
I was going to ask that next. Have you heard if Reggie had gotten that up and going?
Not as far as I know.
Okay.
I think she's just going to have to fly in a technician.
Well, that's one thing. At least she has the parts.
She thinks she has, but that's the problem. she's not sure if she does. And that's the thing, is if she flies in a technician and doesn't have the parts, then she's in trouble. And on top of that, you know, trying to find out what M&R has in inventory is the difficulty. So we'll see. Winter is coming. She'll have opportunities to play. Actually, it's not her. It's I just spaced out his name. Her significant other. But why did I forget his name? I tell you, I think I'm growing old and senile, which wouldn't surprise me.
Your sound there.
Yeah, lost you.
Yeah, Samantha just drove off in my truck and it's still linked to the truck, so it's going to take just a second.
Oh, no rush. We just got quote unquote, we just got started anyway, so no big deal.
Zoom meeting. Hang on one second here.
Yeah, no rush.
Oh, gotta love technology. Turn off my Bluetooth so I'm not talking to her. There we go. Let's see if I can get back into the conversation.
You're on mute now. Now you're out completely. Now you're heading back. And you are back. Ta-da!
All right, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. You're back in tune. I
Yeah.
have a feeling it's going to be the two of us today. I think that everyone is really working their way on Thanksgiving. So we'll see how that works out.
Perfect.
So go ahead.
No, I was just seeing where you want to start.
So I think the thing to do, even though we don't have anyone, since this is being recorded, and somebody can come in, because I basically put this out to a bunch of groups, including the beginners group. And I thought it'd be kind of nice for you to kind of give us a rundown on your history and where you are, what you covered today, you know, meaning I know you do signs, et cetera. So why don't you just give us a rundown on that?
Excellent. Will do. Jim Rossman, ID Promotions. Run a little screen print shop, embroidery, and sign shop here in Littleton, Colorado. Started in 2014 is when Charlie got me started on my first equipment. Before that, I had done screen printing in high school way back, last century, and learned how to do my screen printing, doing stencils in an art class, fell in love with it. Took a while, got started on screen printing through Charlie's classes through ASI at that time. And then we've gone from there. Started out, I was doing construction and printing in my basement. Did that for a couple of years from 2014 to 2017. 2017, I had an injury that put me out of construction. And I've become a full-time printer now. So even though I started in 2014 printing, really I haven't been printing up until this last 3 years, where I've actually moved into a facility. Over this time that we've moved forward, I have added new pieces. First step after the screen printing was I added embroidery machines. And it wasn't that I wanted to get into embroidery at the time. It was a necessity for my customers. From there, I got into the wide format printing business, had customers asking me about that. And I got into that, and Another one of the customers turned me into moving more signs. So I ended up pushing almost 50-50 business between the screen printing and embroidery to the sign side. That's a general history. Screen printing, what's really taken off for me on doing the printing was separating myself out of the house. It makes personal, I had to do it because I didn't have somebody constantly coming in and breaking the flow of work, and getting out would help me focus on the job. So I got my first shop, little shop up in Wheat Ridge, Colorado. They were, I think it was 1,100 square feet. It worked for a while until the commute got to me. And then I found a shop a year later here in Littleton. And that's when I moved my full facility to a 1,500 square foot facility. Customer base has been anything from contractors to small businesses have been coming in, little mom and pop shops. Yeah, and I'd start out doing small, crazy items. I would take a job for, 6 shirts. I don't do that anymore, but it got my foot in the door with a lot of people. And then once I had that established, a couple students, their parents who were contractors, had come in and asked me to start working through the school on Chatfield High School on working on doing screen printing for their softball team. That was my foot in the door. And since that point, which was back in 2017, that I started doing the screen printing for the school as far as the softball team, mainly the boosters. My company has really jumped by leaps and bounds, and that's where I'm at. I work mainly through Columbine and Chatfield High School here locally, and it's I try to isolate what I do for those teams. Is I stick with softball. I can relate with those customers, and I can provide better service, not trying to cover all the sports that a high school does, and just in those sports that they need help. They have a need for a strong booster, and so on and so forth. Football usually is something I try to avoid because usually they're asking for 1 million pieces, and I'm a tiny shop. That's where I'm at right now. And what kind of questions do you have, Charlie?
So you've got some new pieces of equipment coming in.
Oh,
So
yes.
why don't you address that first?
So as of last weekend, moved in, I got a laser, a laser and a CNC so I could improve on my sign business, where I'm able to use the CNC to start cutting out some of the alumiplast signs, miscellaneous wood. I still have my contracting customers, and I can help them doing things they might need, cabinets or whatever. Not that I'm trying to push that, but I can use it for enhancing, doing more of the 3-dimensional sign, whether it's wood sign, the aluminum coroplast, or using ABS plastics, where I do have customers that use that for their signage. And then I have my laser, which is it's a Laguna laser, and it's used just for etching wood, plastic. I can etch metal as long as it's got some kind of, I think it's anodized chemical or almost like a powder coat on it. I can laser etch that. But those are the new pieces that I'm just trying to take the baby steps on trying to understand how to incorporate that. So I have grand ideas, but now it's the steps I'm trying to learn that process.
So one of my clients up in Chicago, Greg Garbo from Shockwaves Apparel, did a lot of the same things you did. Of course, he's been doing it for a lot longer, and he's definitely grown a lot. And several years back, he started Chicago Culinary Kitchen, which it was actually voted best barbecue in Illinois. And he's just moved to a new facility. I think I showed you the pictures of his bathroom with the skulls and stuff on the floor. But so he has his lasers. So all the things in his restaurant, all the little toothpicks that go into a sandwich that have a little top, he has those all laser cut and lasered in. So he cuts them out that way, but he also lasers into them, well, rare, medium, well, etc. All of his knives are lasered. with his logo on them. Obviously, he does his chef's jackets and all of that stuff with embroidery. Matter of fact, I have one of them downstairs. Going after certain businesses that you have not gone after because of having the equipment you have definitely is something that's worth looking at. I love chef's jackets. I think, the ability to embroider them is one thing. The ability to really get creative and go into a restaurant and say, look, I could put your staff into these for X amount with your logo on it, or we can also do something on the back that's, a little bit more outrageous if you want to spend that kind of money. But on top of that, having the thin wood and cutting it and cutting boards, and you go into a place and they have a charcuterie that they put on the table, to have that lasered with their logo, etc. It's kind of like go out and do a bunch of samples and say, hey, these are the things that we can do for you. Opens up a whole new thing, because obviously a lot of restaurants still do t-shirts and hats, but I'm not sure, I think that if you're good at promoting and have the ability to go into a lot of these places and show them things that they may not be aware of are feasible for them. With a lot of it, it's kind of like, well, yeah, McDonald's could do whatever they want. Just look what they're ordering. We're a one-stop place, and can I really afford to do that type of stuff? I think that's one of those things where I think Greg was great. He was probably the most creative person I've worked with, and thinking outside the box was always his big point. And stealing ideas from him, I have no problem with that. And I think that's my job as a consultant. I feel it's my job to straighten out technical problems, but also if I see something that I think is really smart, worthwhile, I don't have a problem stealing it, and I have no problem telling the person I'm going to be stealing it. I think that's my obligation, is to let them know that if you don't want me to spread this around, don't show it to me, or tell me in advance, I'm going to show you something, but you can't spread it around. But I'm always on his website. He's always on Facebook and stuff. And I'm always amazed about the things that he comes up with. Especially,
have you had Greg on here before?
I have not.
Well, I would be interested to have him here.
I probably should. It's funny, he was advertising for restaurant personnel, and he said, here's the great thing about us. We're closed. I think he's closed on Monday and Tuesday, something like that. He used to be only open Saturday and Sunday from 10 till 1 or sold out, and he sold out every weekend. So they were never there till late. When he opened up his big place, it is a big place. And so I think he's closed Monday and Tuesday. I know he's at least closed Monday, but even in advertising for help, and I'm pretty sure it's Monday, Tuesday, his hours are 10 till 5 or 10 till 6, done. No weekend nights or anything like that. It's all finished by 6 o'clock. And this way you still have a life to live, as opposed to most restaurant people who, especially Friday and Saturday night. I mean, I worked in a deli growing up and spent 6 years cutting corned beef. And while everybody else was going away to the beach, I was there cutting corned beef on the weekend. So, and the funny thing was, I didn't really have to, but it was one of those things I always felt compelled to work, I guess. But, I think for whoever he hired, they're going to be a really a very positive frame of mind, knowing that they have their weekends to themselves, or their weekend nights at least, which is pretty damn good for a restaurant trade. And he's obviously very creative. I mean, you go there and it's kind of like, you know, if you're not into skulls and if you're not into meats and stuff, don't come here. You know, tattoos, skulls, and whatever else it is. But I think he's a good model to look at because he does have his, besides having his screen print and embroidery and laser, and he does his wood signs or wood stuff. And every time I go there, I'm amazed as to all the things that he's been involved with and still is. But definitely the restaurant thing, I think, is where he's putting his biggest concentration. His shop kind of is a contract shop and it pretty much runs itself. But you're definitely moving into situations where those are things that you should be looking at, or where else can you go outside of quote unquote screen printing and even signage, and moving it to other things. But if you go on to his, if you become friends with him, I think you'll find that the things that he posts will, besides all the food, looking at the food is one thing, looking at the stickers in the food and the supporting stuff is really what you should be looking at, although the food looks quite interesting as well.
Okay. Now, probably my things that I've noticed over this last 3 years, and the hard lessons learned, is trying to come up with fresh products for myself. And this is where I'm not having a quote unquote art department. You know, it's been a collage of people bouncing ideas off my niece, my sister-in-law up in South Dakota. And that, I think, that is a step I have to look at going into, because if I can get someone to help me with graphic design artwork or such like that, where I prefer to contract it for right now, but I think that would help me where I'm able to get into where I have ideas, but trying to put that into a format in which I can utilize it is a whole nother ball game right now. It's almost like I have artist block now, because I see certain things and I'm tired of looking at myself and looking everything in vector. So
yeah, well, but this is still an industry that predominantly runs on vector. Much as I'm a advocate of raster images and I love them, it's one of those things where you show somebody their logo vector and then you show it what they could do in raster, and it's like, yeah, that looks really great, but I need the vector because that's what the logo is. And so you kind of get pushed into having to spend more time on vector than anything else. The whole thing about creativity and getting someone to execute for you, it's always been a challenge. I mean, if you came into this with an art background, it's that much easier. In my case, I came in with an art background, but I never bothered to learn computers. And so for someone like me, computers have actually been a negative, not a positive for me, only because I don't know how to make a square in Illustrator. I mean, and I've not taken the time to try and learn it, only because for what I do, it's not the most important thing in my life. Even when I take on a consulting job, I basically let them know, look, you've got an artist that knows how to move that little block of that little mouse. I'll tell them what I want, or I'll tell her what I want them to do. They need to do it. And if you gave me the mouse, it's going to sit there and eat cheese. But that being said, I certainly can sit behind someone and direct them completely into what I want done and explain why. The creativity side is always the most challenging. You can't teach creativity. You can't teach someone to think outside the box, but you can encourage them to do it. And you can encourage them by showing them or explaining why they should be trying some other things and how to go about it. And that kind of like what I said with Greg, he is definitely the most creative guy I've worked with. Is he the best businessman I've ever worked with? Probably not. He certainly has upgraded his shop some, but he certainly has put the bulk of his money into his new venture. And I don't know what his shop is doing now, but if he's not there often enough, they're not doing super creative stuff, but he's a contract printer, so he doesn't have to worry about getting super creative unless he wants to try and go out and drum up new business, which at the moment I would think is not what he's doing.
Okay.
But I think, from your side, the challenges today are quite different than they were 2 years ago. Number one, finding employees that are competent. For the most part, difficult. Finding employees, period, is difficult. Competent ones are even more difficult. Having to train them is definitely part of what I think any shop has to consider in today's world. The fight between, do I go and work for a screen printer or McDonald's? Oh, McDonald's is paying more and I can get to eat burgers. Yeah, do you really want that as a career? And I think that's also part of it is a lot of people initially, or a lot of young people initially looked at this as an industry of, I'm going to do this until I find something that I can really rest my hat on. And, they turn around and 10 years later, they're still doing this. It's like, why don't you just take this as a serious industry? Because it is. And if you're going to be an artist, really dig into it. If you're going to be a printer, really dig into it. If you're going to be a screen maker, there's lots and lots and lots of information out there. And we are not the most well-paying industry. We are a blue-collar industry. And so do we pay blue-collar wages? We do. Is that bad? It's not. Of course, it depends on what state you're in. I mean, some of the states are still paying so little that it's ridiculous. But, to me, for someone on the younger side to be making $15 an hour, is that good? It's fine. It's not great. And I think anybody who thinks it's great is out of their minds. But if you're young, and especially if you're young, married, and both are working, you could do pretty well with that. And life is, welcome to the world. I mean, no one is giving out, free paydays. I mean, I can remember my early days, I remember my first full-time job, which was as a designer of magazines for Fawcett Publications. And the job paid $10,400 a year, $200 a week before taxes. And I was like, woohoo, man, I thought that was killer. And my wife, when we got married, her job paid the exact amount. So we were both making $200 a week. And that was fine. We were able to do everything we wanted with that. 2 incomes. I think, where was it? You needed your rent to be equal to no more than 2 weeks' salary. And that's probably not far removed from where we were. We were certainly not rolling in money, but we put in our time, we put in our effort. And I think that's all it takes today also, is just staying focused on it. We'd all like to be driving the nicest of cars on the road. Yep. Nicest of cars may be, as long as you're outside of that Yugo situation, you're fine. But, I think the biggest thing in this industry is really just getting people to understand that it's a real industry with a real career. And there are people who are making quite a lot of money at this. And certainly there are owners who have definitely moved up and are doing extremely well. And there are those who just were never good business people and they went out. Well, welcome to any industry. If you're not a decent business person, you're probably going to struggle and your shop may not survive it. Look, I was not a good business person. I know that. And so the best thing that happened to me was a one-man band. But having had two companies, neither one went bankrupt. I left my first one to my ex-partners. And my second one, I just closed down just because I could see the handwriting on the wall and I wasn't about to do stupid things to try and prolong an issue that wasn't going to come together. And so after 13 years, bye-bye. And went into nothing but full-time consulting, and that's all I've done ever since.
And that's the same thing. When you got, the best, probably the single greatest advice I got as far as business wise, when you had come over to my house the first time to print that fine, it had to be a tight print, that 5-color job we did for that school in South Dakota, the first job we did. And you just told me, you go, make sure you're charging. You're working in your basement. Make sure you are charging as if you have a facility, because that was the difference on when I did finally get the facility. It was still the culture shock, but it was one of those things, at least I had that step forward. Now it's trying to get that trick of where am I going with, because I was very fortunate. My 2 employees that I do have, they both just happened to walk in the door, and it was just
great.
Amazing. Deborah, who's she has an art degree, and then Nicole, who's the younger lady, she's 19 and going to college. She did some correspondence classes through the high school and did graphic design, so she has a general concept. She's got art talent, and kind of looking forward if I can kind of hone some of it to bring it into what we do and to keep her creative stuff going. But now trying to bring in to make sure that my pricing is justifying what I have to be able to pay my employees has been that next challenge going, okay, I was covering for my shop and me, and now I have to cover for my shop and my employees.
Correct.
And keep moving forward. I've always been that if I'm sitting still, I'm going broke. So I've always tried to keep my eye on the horizon to see what are my next steps, kind of like what we were talking about with the laser and CNC, is where's my next step for the business.
Yep.
In this last week, knowing that I have this equipment here, I've realized that I need an industrial space. Working out of a retail shopping center for the actual printing and the CNCs, I need to move to an actual industrial facility. I want to keep my retail space because it draws a lot of business, but we definitely need to be looking at now on the industrial side, which is that next step of, okay, covering these employees, those employees, the new shop. So it's been fun. And honestly, like I said, the best advice I got from you was house is charged for as if you were in a shop, not in your house. And it's been great. So
Hey, we got another visitor. Okay.
hey, excellent.
So, one of the interesting things that I was on Facebook and someone posted, when should I draw a salary for myself? And of course, my feeling is on day one, because I think that's the biggest mistake that new printers make or new shop owners make, is they keep feeding the money back in. They draw just enough to make ends meet, which I think is okay up to a certain point. But when you're paying yourself less than you are your employees, I think you have to look in the mirror and say, hey, if I work for me, I'd actually be making more money than being the owner here. And that's a ridiculous situation because you're the one who has to take all the risk. And so part of that is getting reward. Drawing a stupid salary is another thing. One of the questions I ask on anyone that really wants to get in is, how much would you like to make a year? I know how much you'd like to make. How much you realistically feel you want to make based on the equipment that you're buying? And, don't tell me I want to make $1 million a year and you're going to be buying a 4-color manual. And I think that's a realistic thing. But at the same time, you know, I think you have to sit down and say, okay, I know what I'd like to make on a realistic level. Do I have the proper equipment to get to that point? Do I have to hire employees? And if I do, how many do I need in order to get to where I want to go? And I had to go through a lot of that when I started out. My beginnings were, I think, a bit different than most. I had a partner immediately, and I think we hired 5 guys on day one. And so, and they knew how to print. I didn't know anything about this industry, so I definitely needed somebody who knew how to print. The mistake I made, I didn't draw a salary, and my wife was still working, and so whatever monies, the matter of fact, the book that I'm writing, I have 2 checks from back when I started that I was never able to cash. So I have the 2 checks that's going to be going into my book. And the reason I couldn't cash them is because there was no money in the bank. And I think they were for $100 and some odd dollars or something like that. I mean, it's an inconsequential amount. That was my biggest thing. That was part of why I left my first company. We got up to 4 automatics, and yet I wasn't drawing much of a salary. And it was like, no, this is stupid. I had a family I got to take care of. And so that was that. And it was a good lesson to learn. I think, you know, when you're doing the amount of work we were doing, our salaries should have been pretty astronomical, but they weren't. We kept feeding it back into the business, and it kind of, you know, you have to kind of look at it at a certain point saying, you know what, I need to let my business alone. Here's Sean. I need to leave my business alone for a while and let it grow, let it level out to where it is. And there's a big man. Hey, how's it going? Oh, you're still on mute.
There we go.
Oh, there you are.
Good. How's it going?
So we were talking about you, but the moment I saw your name, we stopped because we weren't saying anything that was really very positive.
Well, you know, you got to do what you got to do sometimes, right?
So Jim Rossman is on. That's who you spoke to about the Epson printer.
Yeah. And Jim, have you ever had to replace that head yet on that, the printer head?
No. And actually, kind of, Charlie and I just started going. I came in. I hired Charlie for 2 days to come in and help consult my new employees. And one of the things we did look at is getting it under the microscope, pretty much, if you want to call it that. Is I had a lot of splatter coming off of that. So one of the things we were doing is I'm actually going through doing a manual cleaning, and I cleaned up a lot of the splatter and issues that I had on that. But I have yet to replace the head on that. And I bought that in, I want to say that was in January of 2017 that I bought it's the screen print edition SureColor.
Okay.
3270. I've never had to replace the head on it. Knock on wood.
Well,
it's not tomorrow.
I consider the structure of it a large format type machine. And since they are it's one print head for all lines of color, it's an expensive replacement. And I wanted to make sure that there wasn't an opportunity for you to get head strikes or something if the film puckered or created a bulge or something.
The way it comes out, I have not had that. We're on my Roland. I've got the VS640i. I see you got the Roland background there.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's the one thing. I like the way being able to do a manual cleaning on my Roland to go through and clear that up. Yeah. I like that.
You can't do that on the Epson?
You cannot do that on the Epson. That was one of the things. I'm glad that we actually got a chance to talk, because getting into this, hoping I can go through and do a manual cleaning on it, it takes, from the videos I've seen, and I haven't clarified everything, is you have to get all the way into everything in order to clean it out. I mean, you've got to take the front, basically the sides and the front off to get to the head. And that's exactly what I was thinking getting into this one. So Roland make one that I can use just because, and that is something that's new. So that is something now to consider if you move forward on getting one of the shirt colors.
So just so you know, I have a number of companies that use the 3270s and really love them. But the thing that we did with Jim, went online, bought blank cartridges. So he's doing his own filling.
Yeah.
And rather than doing it through the screen print companies, where they are charging a substantial amount for those empties, what did those run you? Like
I think
$20 or $30 or something like that?
20 bucks a
I
cartridge.
mean, as opposed to,
Oh,
what I looked up was like a couple of $100 for them. This is $30 or something like that. So we're gonna get a second set and just put cleaning fluid in. And so on a regular basis, just do a head cleaning using cleaning fluids, doing a couple of power cleans to keep the heads fresh.
I'm not familiar with the printer. Does it have ports that it sits in that you have to soak or anything?
No, actually, so all it is here, I'm gonna try to open one of these cartridges up. So yeah, these this is one of the empty cartridges. This is the photo black, but they're simple. It's just a simple, easy pour.
Is that a 440?
Yeah. No, this is the 750
Oh,
or the 700 milliliter. So this here, and they work great. I mean, since I put them in there, it's been good. It's nice to, you use this thing so much on the all black ink system that it actually dissipates. So you don't end up using so much ink. I'm not happy with having to pay for the software every year, but
what software?
I was actually using the AccuRip. What is that?
Yeah.
Charlie, you know which one that is.
Right. You were using AccuRip, either Ruby or.
I've got Black Pearl, so it's
Yeah,
a
you should be fine with that.
Oh yeah.
So are you, what droplet weight are you printing on?
I believe I have it set right now at 12 or.
I was gonna say, I thought you were at 12.
Okay. See, if I
yeah, I'm at 12.
if I go below a 13 on my 1430, I'll start to see a little bit of banding in it. And it's just, I've got to hit up to a 13 to keep it nice and solid. But then I get a lot of that rough edge
The
splatter.
splatter.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, and like Jim was getting some banding. And so once you can clean up that splatter, you can definitely go up one more notch, which I think Jim is going to have to do as well. But I think the thing is to first get rid of that banding and the splatter. But when you've got a 4-year-old machine, and how old is yours now?
Oh,
2017. So yeah, it's been 4 years, a little over 4.
yeah, mine's about 6.
And it was
And
a
I love
$200 machine. I think you need to break the bank open and get something that really works off of a roll. The next problem, I know you want it off a roll. When you go beyond the 3270, you're now looking into a bigger chunk. And the question is, do you need anything that's that much bigger?
Right. No, I mean, I don't
Okay.
even need to go. I don't need.
And certainly going with a roll. I mean, Jim was using a 24-inch roll. I cut it down to a 17 and a 14. And the 14 to me still makes the most sense. Having a 24-inch in there, even though it can take it, there's so much waste involved that it's ridiculous.
You're not going to
14-inch
get that
wide
on a
roll.
film or on a screen.
A 14-inch wide roll is perfect, I think.
Yeah.
It's a step above what the 1430 can do, which can do a 13-inch wide. And so that gives you that extra inch, which, not that it's really that critical in terms of what you're printing, but it's always nice to be able to squeeze that a little bit bigger image if necessary, especially if it's someone who's looking at bigger shirts and not worried about the smaller ones.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing. I think actually I got started on the 24-inch rolls. Charlie, you and I talked about that because I think at the time the Midwest, who's here locally, that's all they had in stock. So I was like, I'll take it. And it's one of those, how did I let myself run out of, my film? And sure enough. So,
Yeah.
but that was literally how that started. And then I don't know. I think I just got into that groove. Just get the 24 thing. Same thing I ordered last time. Order 4 rolls. Get it here. And yes, I'm glad now that I'm doing 14 because I have like just about no waste, and it's kind of nice to not have a plastic collection.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things, you say, oh, I'm going to save this excess piece, and then you have this pile that you never use.
And then you don't know which edge is the straight edge.
Well, that's easy. You just put it down and cut your edge so that it is straight.
They're in a perfect world.
How's everything else on your side?
Doing well.
Yeah, good.
We're
Staying busy.
we're trying to figure out how we can make both shows in January and receive another 6-head embroidery machine in January. So it's going to be a full January.
What embroidery machines do you have?
Barrington.
Okay. Yeah, I've got 2 Malco single head. Haven't got big enough where I can get into a multi, but
Yeah, we started out with a single head and then got a big, like 100-piece cap order, and we're like, screw this. And there was a show, and lucky enough they were showing it, and it actually fit in our basement. The 6-head did. Had to have a rigging company come in and pull the fence off and lie plywood down as they got it in, but that was 3 locations ago. So now it's fairly easy to get in and out.
absolutely. Best investment I had on mine is getting the wheeled carts for
Yep.
the heads. It's like, hallelujah.
So
But
how
no,
far away from Charlie are you?
Huh?
About 40 minutes, 30 minutes, roughly.
What?
To your house?
Sorry. Oh, from my house to yours, to your shop, 30 minutes. Unless there's traffic, then it's 31.
Or snow?
Yeah, correct.
So
That-
Denver has set a record for the longest time between snowfalls. And every day it's a new record. I think today is 216 days since the last snowfall. And it's now the latest snowfall on record.
You are in deep trouble when it comes.
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
The
Deep trouble.
mountains are getting snow, but Denver isn't. So
Ugh.
I'm thrilled.
Yeah, bulk of ours still comes in though in April or March and April. So that's where we get hammered.
March
Usually.
is the #1 month. Yeah.
Wow. I remember getting snowed in and at the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, but that's a wonderful place to get snowed
No.
in, isn't it?
Not with a 2-year-old, and they were charging, I think it was $27 for a buffet, and you couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah, but their Sunday buffet was wonderful.
It was a state of emergency. It was so bad, and that was a couple days before Thanksgiving, so it was early when that happened.
Yeah.
I'm
Listen,
sorry.
we've had snow in September.
Hmm.
And we've had it as late as the end of May.
Yep.
And I can tell you 2.5 May of 2019, May 20th, because it was my anniversary. I took my wife out to for dinner at one of our favorite places downtown or down Cherry Creek in my Porsche. It was beautiful. While we're sitting in the restaurant, it started to snow, but not little snowflakes, these monster things. To get from my house to the restaurant took 15 minutes. To get from the restaurant home took an hour and a half, and we were thrilled that we didn't die.
Yeah.
So my little Porsche, when there's anything that appears to be white, does not come out. That's why they have Uber.
Yep.
Nice.
So Sean,
Crazy.
what two shows are you looking at going to?
Huh?
PPAI in Vegas and then ISS in Long Beach.
Okay. Well, the
Which
PPAI
one?
I actually might be looking at going to. If I do, I'll see if we can get
Oh, yeah,
meet up. Absolutely.
most definitely.
Well,
You all right, Charlie?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. So I won't be doing, I got in touch with PPAI, but they're not sure what their whole situation is this year. And so I'm definitely not invited to speak. I will be in Long Beach. I think Long Beach is going to be a really good American show. In the past, it's been very heavy with overseas people. I do know some from overseas that are coming over. I don't know how many equipment companies are. I was in touch with one person who said, I don't see any Chinese companies exhibiting this time. And I can understand why. We have a friend, Mark Gervais, who runs the largest shop in the world, actually, in China. And he said, yeah, I can come to the show. Then I have to quarantine for 15 days when I get home. And so no one from China really wants to come because they will have to quarantine. So that's out. And I was on with my contact in Germany yesterday, and he said he went to the show in Orlando a couple of months, about a month or so ago. Not in the screen print industry, but he ran the biggest ASI type show in Europe called PSI in Dusseldorf. As a matter of fact, the CEOs from ASI and PPAI, we would all meet there. So Michael had to go to Orlando. He said the amount of paperwork and the amount of hassles and the amount of vaccine and testing was amazing. And then he had to go to London for 1 day. He said he had to fill out 12 pages of paperwork to be able to get in and out of London in 1 day. So do I think Long Beach will be good? I think you're going to have all the American manufacturers. You're going to have all the American printers. You're going to have some foreigners come in, if in fact their countries allow them to make it an easy situation. Vespa, if you wanted to go to Amsterdam from the US, 10-day quarantine in order to go to the show. So Americans did not go to the show. As a matter of fact, in speaking to the guys who I know did go, they said there were no ink companies and no screen printing equipment manufacturers there. It was predominantly a digital show.
Ugh.
Yeah. But, I'm going to be working, I'm going to be doing 2 workshops actually in Long Beach. One that's an advanced workshop and one that I think I got to look up. I can tell you in a moment if you think I can remember things. So I am doing working with water-based discharge ink, which is a seminar. Then I'm also doing a performance fabric workshop, which is an all day. And I'm doing an advanced workshop, which is going to be 4-color process and simulated process. And that again is all day. But, and then in between, I'm working for Vastex in their booth.
Nice. So
Got to keep my face out there.
I need a deal on that semi-automatic coder.
It's $16.95.
Yeah,
Which
that's
one
not,
is that?
Huh?
Is that the Vastex?
Yeah.
that's not that's not a insider no Charlie deal, is it?
Oh, okay. Take $1 off.
There.
Really? Sign me up.
All right. The interesting thing is I've put those into several shops and they're in love with them.
Really?
Yeah, no, all kidding aside, they're just finding, look, it's 1/10 the price of an automatic coder. Okay. And all you have to do is teach your employee to take a scoop coder and hold it.
Yeah.
And that's it. Step on the foot control and it goes. Can I get you a deal? I'll see what I can do.
I figured
All right, I'll get you $2 off.
Yeah, I'm looking for that, Jimmy out of the back of the van deal.
The problem is all of those are sitting at the port of Long Beach in the containers. And no one is unloading the containers, so you can't get those.
And it says Vastex with a K.
Yeah, and it's not quite green. It's kind of a blue color, but you know,
Yeah.
what the hell? I ran out of paint.
Sort of
and the paint
aqua.
color. I think I've put those into probably a half a dozen shops now.
Anybody near
Several
me?
up- Huh?
Anybody near me?
I'd have to check. I don't think so, but I can check with Vastex to find out who has one near. I can certainly put you in touch with the people that I have put them into. If you wanted, you know, just chat with them.
Yeah,
But,
I'd like to just sort of
and
bend
you
the
still
ear
have,
about what the easiest and what the hardest part is.
you still have your old one, don't you?
My old Vastex exposure unit.
Oh, you never had one, did you?
Mm.
Okay, well, Jim has one of the old ones, but I'll put you in touch with, I think, my client up in North Dakota. She has two automatics, and she's been using one for probably 3 years now,
Okay,
something like that. I had her in the manual one initially, and then I had her move into the semi-automatic one. I'll give her a buzz and I'll have Jola get it, or I'll get you in touch with Jola.
okay. Yeah, because we gotta do that over the next couple months. You know, not only, you know, we're bringing in that another piece of equipment, but we got to get that additional flash. We got to get the scoop coater. You know, got to get the new printer.
Yeah. Hey, listen, you know, the time to buy now is now so that you can write it off for this year. But of course, you can always write it off next year. I mean, you know, I'm certainly sensible to the situation, knowing that, oh yeah, it'd be nice if I had an unlimited budget and I could buy everything this year, but that doesn't always work.
You mean the government's not going to give me all that money?
Of course they are. I saw them write the check yesterday. You haven't received it yet?
Oh, that part is affected by the mail service.
Yes. You know, it's interesting. Last week I got a notice from the IRS and my wife and I are like, oh shit, this is not good. I owe them money. An extra $26.43. I wrote that check out and stuck it in the mail so fast that it wasn't even funny. It was like, woo, $26. I think I could deal with that.
Next month it'd be 10 times that.
Well, I already paid the big chunk. This was what after they went through everything, they said, this is what I owed in addition to what I had already paid. Oh, if I can only pay $26 for the year, that would be a win.
Yeah.
I'll get you in touch with Joe. The other companies that I put into are on the newer side. One specific one, I don't even know if they have it up and running yet. I did a job in New Jersey, and they're really interesting company. They do a ton of the stuff for the White House.
Really?
Yeah. The pens and books and plaques and all of that type of stuff. And it was one of those companies. I walked through the front door and they hired me for a solid week. So I was there for 5 days. So I came in the front door on Monday, and the front office was great with a beautiful graphic. They also own a sign shop. Okay. Great graphic on the wall, and met the owner and the production and the operations manager over in the coffee area. They started 7 in the morning, so I needed my coffee. 7 or 6, 7 in the morning. So I needed my cup of coffee, which they were making, and there were the doors right in front of them to the shop area, and it had a beautiful graphic. When you opened the door, it was like opening the gates to hell. It was like, holy shit. What does that part of the company have to do with this part of the company? I mean, this part is organized, it's beautiful, it's clean. I walked in the back and it was like, what the hell? Ink on the floors, the 3 parts to a screen room, one area being worse than the next, and with garbage all over.
You fixed that real quick, didn't you?
I mean, and to me, it was like, okay, my week here is already cut out for me. I know what I have to do. They have since hired a guy to scrape the floors and epoxy them. They have brought in people. We've redesigned each of the rooms so they now, instead of cleaning their screens out on the floor and in the quote unquote ink area, they actually bring the dirty screens into the dirty part of the screen room to reclaim them and then go into the clean part so that they can degrease and coat, et cetera, and go into the last part where it's storage. And they do have an eye image, so they do direct to screen. They keep sending me photos and it's kind of like, wow, this is a company that has absolutely jumped on it.
That's
But
awesome.
you know, even the middle room where they coated screens, it was like a ladder and it was coated in pink because their emulsion was pink. And it's like, really, you don't think that maybe you should have cleaned this at times? They just got in one of the semi-automatic coaters.
Okay.
So I don't know if they're even up and running on it yet, to be honest with you, because they're really going through this whole redo of the whole production area. But neither of you have that issue in terms of stuff everywhere, to some extent. But I think that how are you finding? Are you finding employees at all, Sean? Wow.
No.
I think the biggest issue is just being able to get any, when you drive and there's a guy on the corner who's saying, well, ex-vet will work for food or whatever. It's like, why don't you come and work for me?
Because they make more money standing on the corner.
They might. It's getting to be winter time though, man. It's cold standing on that corner. You know what amazes me is I'll watch somebody standing out there in the winter, 8 hours a day. And I'm thinking, I don't know how much you make, but is it really worth standing out here for 8 hours a day, freezing your ass off?
Yeah.
And now where people are paying a decent amount of money, nothing great, but a decent amount to get anybody in. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But then again, I guess I live in my little ivory tower or something.
Yeah, it's and it's not like I'm just going to hire anybody because they've got to want to do this.
Oh, they got to want to work. Absolutely. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just a body that isn't doing anything.
Yeah.
You just can't judge them on your work ethics. You got to judge them on standard work ethics.
Well, that's showing up on time.
Working while you're here.
And showing up at all. Yeah, but welcome to the
Back
screen
after
print
lunch.
industry. Look, I told you back when I had my shop, Mondays were like hell until I started paying on Monday. Believe it or not, that resolved two problems. One, paying my guys on Friday, they would go and piss away that money before they ever got home. And so, of course, their spouses were like, we need money. Oh, yeah. Of course, they'd come home drunk. When I started paying on Monday, they were pissed off to the max, except their spouses loved it because they actually had money all week long.
Nice.
And they showed up on Monday. That was an amazing thing.
Yep.
You guys have a couple of employees. I had 100 of them.
Nope.
Still frightens me that I had that many there. But getting employees is brutal right now. That's why pretty much as you can automate, I think you have to.
Yeah, but I'd taken the leap to that CTS.
No,
that's huge on that side.
It's a wonderful machine. It's a machine. And I've worked with enough companies that have them. Most of them love them. At the same time, you've got one automatic, one manual. I'm not sure you're in a position to really spring for that kind of money based on what you're doing.
And we might use 15 screens a week because we're not doing a bunch of 24-piece jobs anymore. Most of ours are 72, 144 plus.
So I just worked with a company, I'm still working with them out in Long Island. 26 automatics, average order is 45 to 60 pieces. Okay? And they're doing 25,000 a day.
Imprints?
Yeah. Including blankets and stuff. They have some killer accounts, but they just do short runs. The girls that are really good on machine will do 3 to 4 jobs an hour. Average is 2 to 3 colors. And so then now, and they have 3 eye images. They are looking at new space and putting in 24 new automatics. And also replacing their eye images. They may go with the SATA units.
What are they going to use for the machines?
We're looking at the M&R strikers, the ovals. So we're looking at putting in 24, maybe as much as 36 of those.
The strikers, the tables go up, right?
The what?
The tables go up.
Well, the biggest thing with them is because of the shortness of their runs, the striker has what they call a high lift, where the screen and squeegee and flood bar go up high so that you can load up a job on one side while you're printing on the other side.
Okay, so it's the screen drops to the pallet.
I
with
believe it does.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it does. The pallets don't move. The pallets stay level. The screens come down.
Well, they better order those now. I heard there's a 30-month waiting period.
They do have a 30. I think they, when I spoke to Danny Sweem, who's the CEO, he thinks they've gotten it down to maybe 20 weeks.
20 weeks. Good Lord.
Yeah, that's only 5 months. I mean, what the hell?
Compared to where it was at, that's actually not bad for that. 5
Yeah.
months, 30. How do you stay in business back ordered at 30 months?
You know, I think you guys obviously haven't been around that long. Back when I first started, the average machine, when you ordered it, was 18 to 20 weeks. That was that was normal. 12, I shouldn't say that, 12 to 18 weeks was normal. Every machine was custom made.
Okay.
And so a 3-month wait was the average normal situation. And as the industry grew, people were, or the equipment companies were projecting and buying. Look, I bought a machine from Rich Hoffman, probably 6, 7, 8 years ago. I was working for a company up in Chicago, and they needed a new machine, and it was like December. And so I called Rich. I said, hey, when can you get me something? He said, look, every year in November, I place an order for myself for 10 automatics. He said, I'll get you one of those. And they had the automatic in like a week, because he knew at the end of the year, everybody wanted to buy in order to get the tax credit. And so he would put 10 machines under his own name and would sell those off. You're very good at muting when you sneeze.
Yeah.
In any event, I'll see what I can do for you on your coder. I'm going to go up to the shop that has that used flash. The biggest issue is I got to see how many bulbs are or are not working. And really the big issue is the shipping cost. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem I have trying to get you a machine from Denver. I don't know what the hell there's. Look, I tried, I was going to sell one of Jim's old exposing unit, the little Vastex one. And the shipping to Florida was going to be $360. And it's like, whoa, really?
Well, you're going to pay shipping on pretty much anything you get anyways.
You know, the day of the deadhead load, good luck trying to find it now. Nobody's got enough, you know, everything coming out of California is loaded. So, but I'll do some checking for you. I'll get back to you. In any event, have a great Thanksgiving.
You too.
I'll stay in touch. Jim, thanks so much for being on.
You're very welcome. And Sean,
And I did
what-
record this in, I did record this in case you wanted to catch up on this.
What
So-
were you saying, Jim?
no, we'll have to catch up because if you have questions on the shirt color and just, I have questions. Obviously, we talked last time about, or a couple months ago about your Rollins
Yeah,
on that, because I know that's one of the pieces of equipment I have to probably be looking at in the next 8 months is the next printer. I
yeah,
have to get, I'm gonna have to get, now, what do you have for a plotter? Do you have a straight plotter?
yeah. We just run a GCC
Okay, how wide?
24.
Okay, so that's the whole thing is I don't know, do I go with that Roland 54 or whatever it is? I was like,
I mean, how much stuff over 24, 30 inches wide are you going to need to contour or use that cutting blade for? Not a lot.
rare.
Yeah, and it's not like you're producing thousands of stickers or decals or anything like that. So that was my mindset behind it. If I go to a larger printer, I'm going to probably an HP latex 54 inch, but I'll probably keep the Roland to do any cutting if I need it to. Otherwise, I'll just stay with the 24 I have.
Okay. So yeah, I was just curious question because I was looking at doing just a plotter because trying to do just contour cutting with my VersaWorks, it just doesn't have it to cut through some of the just contour cutting because some of those blades are just not, I don't know if it just doesn't have the pressure for it or if it's just not really designed for straight plot. So I have to buy a plotter, and it's been one of those, just trying to get other ideas on. There's a second person that's told me you don't need to go 54 inches because everything we really do is, like you said, that sweet spot right around 28 inches,
Yeah.
on the big side. So excellent. Well, Sean, thank you very much. And please keep in touch if you have any more
Gotcha.
questions.
All right. Have a
Thank
happy Thanksgiving, guys.
You too.
Hey,
Thank you,
you
Charlie.
too, Sean.
Alrighty.
Have a good one. Thanks, guys.